In this video, we are hunting a box of nickels. We'll be looking for any older Jeffersons from before 1960, including war nickels, as well as buffaloes or anything made before that. We'll also be looking for any proofs, foreigns, reserve varieties, or any other cool things we can find. Something interesting about this box is I barely see any new design enders, so hopefully that's a good sign. Let's start the hunt, and I'll bring you in on our first find. Roll number 2, and we have our first find, and it is a 1954 minted in Denver. Roll 3, and we have our second nickel from the 50s, and this one is a 1959, also from Denver. On roll number 4, and we have a pretty good minor mint error here. It is a 2000 nickel, and that's a pretty good misaligned die. It's probably one of the better examples I've found. As you can see, the reverse is centered, and then the obverse is pretty off, so misaligned die, that's a pretty cool error. Roll 5, and we have our first 40s nickel, and this one is a 1946 out of Philly. Roll number 8, and we have 2 finds. First is another 1946 out of Philly, and next is a 1959 out of Denver that's pretty beat up. Roll 12, and we have another 50s nickel, and this one is a 1958 out of Philly, which is actually kind of a better date. Roll 13, and we have another 50s nickel, and this one is a 1959 out of Philly that, based on the look of it, could be a circulated proof, but not too sure in this condition. Roll 15, and we have another 50s nickel, and this one is a 1952 minted in San Francisco. Roll 17, and we have another slightly better date, 1958 out of Philly, but this one's pretty beat up. Just opened roll number 19, and we're going to have a buffalo because I just flattened out the roll, and I see this edge right here. Hopefully it has a date. It does, and it's a 1918, and it's a Philadelphia. 1918 Philadelphia, 103-year-old nickel found in the box. That's awesome. Roll 20, and we have our fourth nickel from 1959, and this one is a Denver. Roll number 25, and we actually had an ender. It was reverse facing, and it turned out to be a 1947 out of Philly. Roll 27, and we have yet another 1959 minted in Denver. Second half of this box has been pretty slow so far, but we are on roll 36, and I had a couple finds. First is a 1954 from Denver, and the next is a Canadian nickel, first foreign from 1989. Next roll 37, and just like the last roll, we have another 1954 Denver. Next roll 38, third roll in a row with a find, and this one is a 1957 out of Denver. Roll 39, we have another find, and this is the second foreign of the box. It's another Canadian nickel, and this one is a 1982. Roll number 46 had a couple more nickels from the 50s. First is a 1956 out of Denver, and next is yet another 1959 out of Denver. Roll number 47, we're finally going to have our fourth nickel from the 40s, and it's a pretty discolored 1942, but unfortunately it isn't silver, and it's out of Philly. Roll 48, and we have a 1952 Philadelphia. Last roll, and we're going to have one last find, and this one is a 1958 out of Denver. Now let's move on to the wrap-up. Nickel box has been hunted, so let's go over the finds. We got 11 S-mints, 2 foreigns, both Canadian, a 1982 and a 1989. A couple miscellaneous finds. We got that 2000D misaligned die. That's pretty cool. And this 1959, I'm leaning towards it just being a circulated proof just because of the look. Might not be, but I'm saying it probably is. Older Jeffersons, I'd say we got a little less than normal, but that's okay. We did get a couple 58 Phillies, which are better dates. And the find of the box was that 1918 dated Buffalo nickel out of Philly. Overall, this was a great nickel box.